stop you in your tracks. Something that would change the way you see this entire situation. And I feel like part of you already suspects it. Part of you already has a feeling that something is happening somewhere without your knowledge, a conversation you weren't invited to. Words being exchanged about you that you were never meant to hear. And yet here you are, drawn to this reading, drawn to this title, because on some level you are ready to know. Let me pull for you and let's see what is actually going on. Here's the first card, Death. Okay, don't close the video because this is not what you think. Death in tarot is not a bad card. It is a transformation card, and I feel like it is the perfect card to open this reading with because what is being said about you is rooted in the fact that you have changed. You are not the same as you were. And the people around you have noticed, they are noticing the shift in your energy, the way you carry yourself differently now, the way you no longer chase, no longer beg, no longer shrink. And I feel like that shift is exactly what has sparked this conversation. You became this person who they cannot quite place anymore. This person who doesn't fit into the version of you they had stored in their memory. And that has made them talk because people talk when they don't know what else to do with what they're feeling. And right now, they are talking about the version of you that they cannot stop thinking about, the new version. The one that woke something up in them that they weren't expecting. Let me pull again. Here's the Three of Cups. This is interesting. I feel like this conversation is happening in a social setting, or at least between people who are connected, people who know each other, people who move in a shared space, and your name has come up more than once. Not just in passing, not just as a side note. I feel like this person brought you up deliberately. This person opened the conversation on purpose because they had something they needed to say about you, something they had been holding and needed to put somewhere, and it came out in a way that surprised even them. Because when you start saying something out loud for the first time, it has a way of sounding bigger than you expected, more honest, more true. Let me see more. Here's the Queen of Swords. Oh, I love this card here because the Queen of Swords sees clearly. She cuts through everything that is not real. And I feel like there is this person in this situation who sees you very clearly. Not the surface version, not the version you put out for the world. The real version, the complex, layered, deeply feeling version. And I feel like what they are saying about you comes from that place of clarity. It is not gossip. It is not surface talk. This is this person speaking truth about who you actually are. And the truth in this case is something that runs deep. Let me pull again. Here's the Nine of Pentacles. I feel like part of what is being said about you is about your independence, your ability to stand alone and still radiate. I feel like this person is speaking about your strength, about the way you hold yourself, about the fact that you don't need anyone, and somehow that makes you even more magnetic. And I feel like that observation, that specific thing, is landing very differently on the person hearing it. It is making them feel something, something they weren't prepared to feel, something that is going to shift the energy between you. I feel like seeing you this way, independent, grounded, unbothered, has stirred something in this person that they are struggling to name. And the conversation they are having is partly them trying to make sense of it. Let me pull one more. Here's the King of Cups, and this tells me that the emotions in this conversation are mature, deep, considered. This is not impulsive energy. This is not this person venting. This is this person who feels things on a very deep level, speaking honestly about the weight of what they carry for you. And I feel like that weight, that depth is what makes this reading matter. Because this is not a casual situation. This is not surface energy. This is something real, being spoken about this person who is real. And the shock, when it reaches you, is not going to be because it is bad. It is going to be because it is real. More real than anything you expected. More tender, more specific, more you. All right, let's sit with you for a moment because before I tell you exactly what they are saying, I want to understand what you have been carrying, what has been living in your chest quietly without a name, what you have been sensing but haven't fully said out loud. Here's the first card for your energy right now, Strength. And I mean that in every sense of the word. I feel like you are this person who absorbs a lot. You process quietly. You don't make noise about the things that are weighing on you. And I feel like lately something has been weighing on you, not in a way that is breaking you, but in a way that is asking something of you, asking you to hold on, to keep your composure, even when things feel uncertain. And you have been doing that with grace, but I feel like underneath the grace, there is a tiredness, a quiet kind of exhaustion that comes from being strong for too long without anyone noticing. And I want you to know the cards are noticing, the universe is noticing, and not just noticing the strength, noticing the softness underneath it. The part of you that still hopes, the part that never fully closed the door. And that part of you is the reason you are here. Let me pull again. Here's the Seven of Pentacles. I feel like you have been waiting, not passively, not in that defeated kind of way, but in that intentional way where you planted something and you are watching to see if it grows. Maybe it was energy you put into a connection. Maybe it was vulnerability you offered and weren't sure was received. Maybe it was a version of yourself you showed to this person and then waited to see what they would do with it. And that waiting has felt longer than you expected. And there are moments where you wonder, was it worth it? Did it land? Did they even see what you were showing them? And I want to say, yes, they saw. They are still sitting with it. And that is exactly what is being discussed. Not just that they saw you, but that they haven't been able to stop seeing you, even when they tried. Let me keep going. Here's justice. I feel like there is a part of you that believes in fairness, that believes in things eventually becoming right, that believes in what is real, surviving what is difficult. And I feel like that belief has been tested lately. There have been moments where you wondered if you were being naive, if hoping was just another way of setting yourself up for disappointment. And I want to say it is not naive. Your sense of what is real between you and this person is accurate. The Justice card doesn't show up for wishful thinking, it shows up when truth is being restored, when balance is being recalibrated. And that is what is happening right now in that conversation you don't know about. The truth of what they feel for you is being spoken, and the energy is starting to balance. Let me pull again. Here's the Ten of Cups. Oh, this is a beautiful card for your emotional body right now. Because I feel like underneath all the waiting, underneath all the uncertainty, there is a deep longing for something real. Not just connection, not just attention, something that fills the space, something that feels like home. And I feel like that longing is not foolish. It is not unrealistic. It is a very human need, and you are allowed to have it. And I feel like what is building in this situation, what is being spoken about in that conversation, is exactly the kind of energy that could meet that longing. If you let it, if you stay open. And I feel like that is the invitation living inside this reading, to stop second guessing what you feel, to trust that the connection you sense is real because it is. Let me pull one more. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. And this is the card I always love pulling for timing because the wheel is about cycles turning, about things that were stuck beginning to move again, about the moment where everything shifts and what was impossible becomes possible. And I feel like you are sitting right at the edge of one of those turns, right at the point where the wheel tips, where the waiting ends, where the things that were said in private start making their way into the open. I feel like you have been in a season of patience that has tested you more than people realize. A season where you kept showing up, kept your energy clean, kept your heart open, even when part of you wanted to shut down. And that season is ending. What comes next is the reward for all of that. Not because life owes you, but because what you put out always comes back. And right now, it is coming back with force, and it is turning in your direction. All right, let's get into their world because this is the part where we pull back the curtain. I want you to pay close attention here because what I am about to read is the inner world of this person, the things driving them, the fears keeping them up at night, the specific things they cannot stop saying about you, even to themselves. Let me pull. Here's the first card for their energy, the Five of Wands. I feel like there is an internal conflict happening for this person, a war between what they want and what they think they should do, between what they feel and what they are willing to admit. And I feel like you are at the center of that conflict. Because on one side, there is the pull toward you strong, undeniable, almost inconvenient in how persistent it is. And on the other side, there is the voice telling them to be careful, to not go there, to protect themselves. And those two sides have been fighting each other for a while now. And I feel like the conversation they are having is the moment one side finally wins. The honest side, the feeling side, the side that says, I cannot keep pretending this isn't real. And I feel like the relief of finally saying that out loud, even to one other person, is enormous for them. Like something they have been holding in their chest finally gets to exhale. Let me pull again. Here's the Nine of Swords. Okay. So this tells me something very specific. I feel like this person has been losing sleep over you, not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, middle of the night kind of way where a thought finds you before you're ready for it. And the thought is you, what you mean to them, what they did or didn't do, what might still be possible. And I feel like those thoughts have been heavy because they come with a kind of guilt, a sense that they didn't handle things the way they should have, that they let something slip that was genuinely valuable, that they chose the easier path when the right thing was standing right in front of them. And now, in the quiet of those nights, they are reckoning with that. And they are tired of reckoning alone. So they found this person they trust, and they started talking. And once they started, they couldn't stop. Let me keep going. Here's the Six of Cups. Oh, this is very telling. I feel like this person keeps going back to specific memories of you, specific moments, a conversation that stuck with them, a look that landed differently than they expected, a time when things felt uncomplicated and warm and exactly right, and they are holding those memories very carefully, like something they are afraid to lose. I feel like one of the things being said in this conversation is about a specific moment with you, a moment they remember in precise detail that they keep returning to. And I feel like if you knew which moment it was, it would surprise you because it might not be the one you would have guessed. It might be something small, something you said without thinking twice, something you did without knowing anyone was watching, but they were watching and it never left them. Let me pull again. Here's the King of Pentacles. I feel like this person has a very grounded, measured quality to them. They think before they act, they assess situations carefully. They do not usually let emotion take the wheel. And yet, with you, emotion is driving. And I feel like that is the thing that disturbs them most. They are not used to being moved like this. They are not used to thinking about this person this often. And in this conversation, that is exactly what they are admitting, that you got past something in them that most people never reach, that you occupy a space in their mind that they cannot clear no matter how much time passes, no matter how much they rearrange things. You are still there. And I feel like that admission, that specific confession, is the one that is sitting heaviest in this conversation because saying it out loud makes it undeniable and they are done denying it. Let me pull one more. Here's the Three of Swords. And I want to be sensitive here because this card carries pain. I feel like there was a moment or a series of moments where something broke between you and this person, where the connection cracked in a way that felt irreparable. And I feel like this person carries some responsibility for that. They know it. They are sitting with that in this conversation. The guilt of having contributed to something falling apart that they actually valued. And I feel like what is being said about you is also an admission of that, an acknowledgement that the pain that happened mattered, that you mattered, that losing what was between you was not nothing. It was something they are still grieving quietly in their own way. And grief like that doesn't lie. It only lives where something real existed. And what was real between you two is still very much alive in them, still breathing, still reaching. All right, let's talk about what is actually about to happen because I feel like this is the part you have been waiting for, the part where the energy stops circling and starts moving. Let me pull. Here's the first card for what is coming, the Chariot. Oh, I love this card here because the Chariot is willpower in motion. It is determination that has finally found its direction. And I feel like this is showing me that this person has made a decision, not tentatively, not half heartedly, fully. They have decided that something needs to change between you two, and the chariot doesn't stall. It doesn't second guess once it starts moving. It goes, and I feel like this person is going, I feel like something clicked for them recently. A moment of absolute clarity where everything that had been blurry suddenly came into focus. And what came into focus was you, what you mean, what they don't want to lose, what they are willing to do about it. And the answer to that is everything. Let me pull again. Here's the Page of Wands. I feel like this is the energy of a message of new communication beginning, of this person deciding to initiate something rather than waiting any longer. And I feel like the Page of Wands has a freshness to it, a boldness, like the decision to reach out has made this person feel lighter, more themselves, less tangled up in all the overthinking. And I feel like the message that comes from them is going to have that quality. It is going to feel different from before, less guarded, more honest, more like the person you probably always sensed was underneath the surface. And I feel like receiving that version of them is going to feel significant. Like finally seeing the thing you knew was there all along, but couldn't quite reach. Let me keep going. Here's the Seven of Wands. I feel like this person is willing to fight for this, or at least to stand for it. Do not let the fear of how you might respond stop them from saying what needs to be said. And I think that courage is new. I think this is not this person who has always been willing to be this vulnerable. But something has shifted. Something cracked them open, and what came through was the clarity that staying silent is worse than the risk. That losing the chance to say something is scarier than saying it. And that shift in perspective is what is driving them now. That is what is fueling everything that is coming your way. Let me pull again. Here's the Two of Pentacles. I feel like there is a balancing act happening for this person right now. They are managing what they feel against what is practical, what they want against what they think is possible. And I feel like they are trying to find the right moment, the right approach, the right words. And I want to say, I feel like that moment is very close. Like they have been building toward it and the variables are lining up. And when it happens, it is going to feel less like a big dramatic gesture and more like something inevitable, something that was always going to happen. Something that just needed a little more time to find its shape. And I feel like you are going to recognize it when it arrives. You are going to know. This is what I was waiting for. This is it. Let me pull one more. Here's the Ace of Swords. This is the card of truth cutting through, of clarity arriving, of the fog lifting, and the honest thing finally being said. And I feel like this is the card that tells me what comes from this person is going to be direct. They are not going to dance around it. Not this time. They have been in their head long enough. They have had enough private conversations, enough sleepless nights, enough circling back to the same feelings. And the Ace of Swords says, enough, say the thing. Mean the thing, let it land. And I feel like when it does land, when this person finally just says the real thing to you, it is going to land hard. In the best way, in the way that takes your breath, just for a moment. And I feel like you have been needing that, a moment where you don't have to wonder anymore, where the question gets answered without you having to ask it, where this person just steps forward and makes it clear. That is what is building. That is what is on its way. And the timing of it, I feel like is closer than you think, much closer. Like it could arrive before you even finish processing this reading. Stay with me. All right, this is the part. I need you to really sit with what I am about to say, because this is where the hidden things surface, the things this person has never said directly to you, the confessions that lived in silence for longer than they should have, the feelings that got swallowed again and again because the timing was never right or the courage wasn't there. They are coming out now. Let me pull. Here's the first card for what they truly feel, the Nine of Cups. Oh, this is remarkable because the Nine of Cups is the wish card. It is the card of deep desire being fulfilled. And I feel like you are this person's wish, not in a passive way, not in a distant someday kind of way, in a very present, very specific, very real kind of way. I feel like what they want when they are being truly honest with themselves is you, the connection, the access to you, the version of life where things between you are not complicated, where things are just right. And in this conversation, I feel like that desire is being said out loud, maybe for the first time in words, real words, not just a feeling carried quietly, but an actual admission of what they want. And it is the kind of admission that changes the shape of a conversation, that shifts the air in the room, that makes the other person go quiet for a moment just to take it in. Let me pull again. Here's the Four of Swords. I feel like this person has been in a kind of emotional stillness, not healed stillness. Not peaceful stillness, but the stillness of this person who has been waiting, conserving energy, not moving because they weren't sure where to move to. And in that stillness, the feelings didn't go away. They just got quieter. They compressed. They went deeper. And I feel like what is being said in this conversation is partly the releasing of all of that compression. Everything that got pressed down, getting some air, and the things that come out when that pressure releases are always more honest than anything said in the heat of a moment. This is considered feeling long held and very, very true. I feel like you would recognize it immediately if you heard it, because it would sound like something you always suspected, but never had confirmed. Let me keep going. Here's the King of Wands. I feel like there is a boldness to what this person wants to say to you, a fire behind it, not aggression, but passion, the kind of passion that comes from knowing exactly what you want and being done pretending you don't. And I feel like one of the confessions coming is about desire. Not just emotional desire, but the kind that is physical, the kind that is in the body. I feel like this person is admitting in this conversation that being around you does something to them, that there is a pull that goes beyond just liking you, beyond just missing you. Something more animal than that, something that they are slightly embarrassed to admit, but can't hold back any longer. And I feel like if you knew specifically how they talk about you in private in those unguarded moments, it would genuinely shock you in the most flattering way possible. Let me pull again. Here's the Six of Swords. I feel like this person is moving away from a version of themselves that was too afraid, too closed, too busy protecting the soft parts to let anyone actually touch them. And moving towards something more open, more willing, more ready to receive as much as to give. And I feel like you are the reason for that movement. You are the one who made them want to cross that water, to leave the harder version of themselves behind. And that is a confession in itself that you changed something in them, that being around you or even just thinking about you shifted something at a level they didn't expect. And that is not a small thing. That is the kind of thing people spend their whole lives looking for. And they found it in you. Let me pull one more. Here's the Ace of Pentacles. A new beginning is forming. Something real is being planted. And I feel like this card is the universe saying what this person feels for you has the potential to become something tangible. Something that exists not just in conversation, not just in private confession, but in the actual physical world between you, a real thing, a solid thing, something you can hold. And I feel like part of you has been longing for exactly that. Not the almost said, the actual undeniable real thing. And that is what is forming right now. Stay with me, because the final part is where everything finally lands, where the whole picture becomes complete, and where you walk away knowing exactly what to do with all of this. I promise you, it is absolutely worth staying for, every single second of it. All right, let's bring this home, because everything we have uncovered in this reading, the conflict, the confessions, the grief, the desire, the decision being made, it all leads here to what comes next, to what the universe is saying about where this is heading, and to what you are being asked to do with everything you now know. Let me pull. Here's the first card for the near future. The Three of Pentacles. I feel like this card is about collaboration, about two people building something together. And I feel like it is showing up here to tell me that what is coming is not one-sided. This is not just this person having feelings and keeping them to themselves. There is a shared construction happening. Something being built between you and this person, whether you are fully aware of it yet or not. I feel like the near future holds a conversation, a real one where things are said that have needed to be said for a long time. And out of that conversation, something begins. something that has a foundation, something that is not built on assumption or wishful thinking, but on actual spoken truth and foundations like that last. I feel like this is the beginning of something that both of you have been circling for a while, and the circling is ending. The actual thing is starting. Let me pull again. Here's the Eight of Pentacles. I feel like there is work being done here. Not the kind of work that is exhausting, but the kind that is devotional, the kind that says, I am investing in this because I believe in it. And I feel like this card is showing me that this person is putting effort into how they approach you. They are not being careless about it. They are being deliberate, thoughtful. Practice like they have rehearsed what they want to say, not to sound scripted, but because it matters enough to get right. And I feel like that effort, that care, is going to be visible when it arrives. You are going to be able to feel the intention behind it, and that feeling is going to move you in a way that you were not quite prepared for, in a way that reminds you that the right person showing up with care feels entirely different from anything that came before. Let me keep going. Here's the Hierophant. I feel like this card is about something becoming official, something that was private becoming acknowledged, a truth that was held quietly stepping into the light. And I feel like that is what is happening here. What has existed in secret, in conversation, in private admission, is beginning the process of becoming real. Not hidden, not whispered, real. And I feel like that transition from private feeling to open acknowledgement is something you have been waiting for, something that will bring a kind of relief you haven't let yourself fully expect because you've been trying not to hope too hard. And I want to say you can hope not recklessly, not desperately, but with the quiet confidence of this person who knows what they deserve and what is coming is worth hoping for. Let me pull again. Here's the Queen of Cups, and this card is speaking directly to you. I feel like the advice in this position is to stay in your emotional intelligence, to trust what you feel, to not talk yourself out of the soft knowing that lives in your body. Because you have always known more than you gave yourself credit for, you have always sensed the truth of this situation. And the Queen of Cups says, trust that sensing lead with the heart. Stay open, stay present, and let what is real find its way to you without you having to drag it there. Because it is already moving, you don't have to chase it, just be ready to receive it. And I feel like you already are. More ready than you realize. So open the door. When it knocks on yours, let me pull the final card. Here's the Page of Pentacles, and this is such a beautiful card to close on because the Page of Pentacles is the beginning of something tangible, something new that is just starting to take shape in the physical world. And I feel like this card is the universe saying what you have been carrying in hope is about to become real, not a feeling, not a wish, something actual, something you can point to and say, this is happening. And I want to say you came into this reading wondering if the energy you sensed was real, wondering if what you hoped for had any basis in truth. And the answer from every single card in this reading is yes. It is real. It has always been real. And what is being said about you in that conversation you weren't supposed to hear is the most honest version of how this person feels. And it is beautiful. You are seen in this more deeply than you know, more wanted than you let yourself believe, more thought about than you ever imagined. And this reading today was just the universe pulling back the curtain so you could finally see what has been there all along. Hold on to that. Carry it with you always. Thank you so much for being here with me today. The confessions, the grief, the desire, the decision being made. It all leads here to what comes next, to what the universe is saying about where this is heading, and to what you are being asked to do with everything you now know. Let me pull. Here's the first card for the near future. The Three of Pentacles. I feel like this card is about collaboration, about two people building something together. And I feel like it is showing up here to tell me that what is coming is not one-sided. This is not just this person having feelings and keeping them to themselves. There is a shared construction happening. Something being built between you and this person, whether you are fully aware of it yet or not. I feel like the near future holds a conversation, a real one where things are said that have needed to be said for a long time. And out of that conversation, something begins. Something that has a foundation, something that is not built on assumption or wishful thinking, but on actual spoken truth and foundations like that last. I feel like this is the beginning of something that both of you have been circling for a while, and the circling is ending. The actual thing is starting. Let me pull again. Here's the Eight of Pentacles. I feel like there is work being done here. Not the kind of work that is exhausting, but the kind that is devotional, the kind that says, I am investing in this because I believe in it. And I feel like this card is showing me that this person is putting effort into how they approach you. They are not being careless about it. They are being deliberate, thoughtful. Practice like they have rehearsed what they want to say, not to sound scripted, but because it matters enough to get right. And I feel like that effort, that care, is going to be visible when it arrives. You are going to be able to feel the intention behind it, and that feeling is going to move you in a way that you were not quite prepared for, in a way that reminds you that the right person showing up with care feels entirely different from anything that came before. Let me keep going. Here's the Hierophant. I feel like this card is about something becoming official, something that was private becoming acknowledged, a truth that was held quietly stepping into the light. And I feel like that is what is happening here. What has existed in secret, in conversation, in private admission, is beginning the process of becoming real. Not hidden, not whispered, real. And I feel like that transition from private feeling to open acknowledgement is something you have been waiting for, something that will bring a kind of relief you haven't let yourself fully expect because you've been trying not to hope too hard. And I want to say you can hope not recklessly, not desperately, but with the quiet confidence of this person who knows what they deserve and what is coming is worth hoping for. Let me pull again. Here's the Queen of Cups, and this card is speaking directly to you. I feel like the advice in this position is to stay in your emotional intelligence, to trust what you feel, to not talk yourself out of the soft knowing that lives in your body. Because you have always known more than you gave yourself credit for, you have always sensed the truth of this situation. And the Queen of Cups says, trust that sensing lead with the heart. Stay open, stay present, and let what is real find its way to you without you having to drag it there. Because it is already moving, you don't have to chase it, just be ready to receive it. And I feel like you already are. More ready than you realize. So open the door. When it knocks on yours, let me pull the final card. Here's the Page of Pentacles, and this is such a beautiful card to close on because the Page of Pentacles is the beginning of something tangible, something new that is just starting to take shape in the physical world. And I feel like this card is the universe saying what you have been carrying in hope is about to become real, not a feeling, not a wish. Something actual, something you can point to and say, this is happening. And I want to say you came into this reading wondering if the energy you sensed was real, wondering if what you hoped for had any basis in truth. And the answer from every single card in this reading is yes. It is real. It has always been real. And what is being said about you in that conversation you weren't supposed to hear is the